A huge thank you to Lucas at the back of the room, who's always kind of, our guy behind the camera. He's produced a load of YouTube videos for us that we're going to push out to the site. But, Lucas is at Kussowski Brothers, and I just wanted to tell you what he's doing for these startup groups. So along with Planet Innovation, that have kindly sponsored us for money and all the catering. Inspire 9 have given us this space for free again, and this is to hire this for the time we want it. It's about $450, and they help us set it all up. So they've done this a few times. It's real value. But every single time, because Lucas comes along and films, or he sends one of his guys to come and film. Now, Lucas is into filming promo videos, doing your YouTube stuff, and also developing all kind of other web tools. He's also venturing into crowdfunding, and he's got some interesting stuff going with crowdfunding. But what his kind of standard package for producing a promo video for you is $1,500. But for members of this group, which there are now 370 of us, so hopefully we'll keep him busy, he's offering to do that for $500. And he also said you get a free coffee consultation. Now, I'm not sure if you have to buy him the free coffee, but either way, if $1,000 costs you a coffee, $1,000 discount costs you a coffee, then I think it's well worth catching up with Lucas. So thanks a lot, Lucas, and I'm sure you'll get some business. Okay. So I'm going to hand you over to Sam. Now, interestingly, there's always got to be a link between our speakers. And there's a mysterious link between Scott and Sam. They're both from the same town. Okay, and it's not Sydney or Melbourne. It's a place called Bort.
Yep.
Bort.
With 2 O's.
Don't ask me. But anyway, Sam's the director at Planet Innovation, into creativity and innovation, and he's implemented lots of global strategies across the place. So I'm going to pass you to Sam. Apparently he's an atrocious timekeeper, so if he goes over and just tell me if you want to pull him off. Okay, thanks guys.
Just farmers make good engineers, so Bord is a great place to do farming. So who's seen Jerry Maguire? I didn't quite know what the demographic was going to be. Put your hands up if you've seen it. All right, everyone's seen it. So I was a little bit worried I was going to be carbon dated by referring to this one. And anyway, I think the thing is about Jerry Maguire, he's got a lot of interesting messages for startup businesses. And I've reflected on it during my time in business, and I thought, in the 90s, that was my formation years. I thought it'd be helpful just to go through some of the messages with you guys, because hopefully some of it will make sense to you. So, Roger, I think this is called clean, which means the...
What can I do for you, Ron? You just tell me, what can I do for you?
It's a very personal, very important thing. Hell, it's a family life.
Are you ready, Johnson? I'm ready. Well, make sure you're ready.
Here it is. Show me your money.
If you come to my office every day, that doesn't happen. So, thankfully. So, I think obviously it's a pretty funny clip, and one of the perspectives that we've got at PI, I guess, is that we're a technology development organisation, right? So, doing cool stuff and doing product development, doing engineering sort of sciencey stuff, and largely in the health tech space. But one of the things that we also get involved in is commercialisation, and one of the things about commercialisation that we find is that most product-oriented ventures fail because of the commercialisation phase. And it's important to reflect on that, because really when you're talking about the show me the money part of it, that's the part when the rubber hits the road. So what can you do to make sure that when you actually get to that point that you're on the right mark? And we always think about thinking about business first, thinking about product second, and then thinking about the technology third. So show me the money sounds like a vulgar phrase, and I wouldn't obviously use that. I'm not American. That's something that I'm sure does get yelled around in the 1990s in American business. But but it is something you should think about, and it is something that we often get a lot of clients that come to us and they bring various ideas to us. And one of the first things to do is to try and work out what exactly is going to create value for either them, their investors, or their shareholders. Are they going to sell boxes? Are they going to sell consumables? Are they going to sell assays? Are they going to license some IP? Are they going to build a service business? And often what happens is people come to talk to you about the technology first. They talk about the fact that they've got this IP that's brilliant. And I think it's important always to reflect on the show me the money part, even though it is a bit vulgar. So to give you a personal experience of that, I spend my time right now, even though I'm a founder of PI, I spend it in one of my clients' organisations, helping trying to commercialise a pretty sophisticated biomedical set of products, a set of instrumentation. And it's pretty interesting when you think back, we started this venture 4 years ago with our client, and now we're actually at the show me the money part, and it's amazing how much emphasis is on that there. So if you think about it, 4 years ago, spend a lot of time thinking about it, right? So that's the first message that you get from Jerry Maguire from my side. Next one. So if you remember going all the way back, so before the show me the money part, Jerry woke up in a cold sweat, and he said something along the lines of, I hate myself. And actually, no, it's not quite that. I hate my position in the world. And what I need to do is I need to write myself a mission statement, okay? And not just a memo, but a mission statement. And what it's going to do is drive the future of my business. And that's obviously a pretty passionate part of the movie. And obviously, Jerry went off and obviously articulated that to everyone that he came across. But clearly he fell in love with his idea, and it's important to not fall in love with your idea. So what Jerry did is he lost 2 wives. He obviously lost some friends. He lost his marquee player, and it was important there because passion obviously drove him through that part. But it's also very important to remember to be flexible. Okay, so you've got this big vision, this big grand vision, but be flexible. And the thing that there's an example that I like to reflect on. One of our first clients came to us and he had a business proposition. He had some novel IP, and more importantly for us, he had some investment that he was willing to spend with us. And I said to him, that sounds all great. What does the market think? And he sort of sat there and thought about it and said, well, we know what the market thinks, and we think they think it's great. So at that point, it's really important to sort of sit back and go, is this guy going to be flexible? So we said, well, how about we go out and actually test the market, find out what the market thinks. And fortunately, he did. And we actually went out, we tested the market. The awesome thing was his idea had some very good value proposition, but it also we actually added some information to that whole strategy. And so that project, not only was it a good idea, but it actually got bolstered by some additional thinking. So that's number 2. So finding people that share your vision. You've got this great vision of what you want to achieve. So in my particular case, we were a little bit. I've been working in technology consulting for a while, which is sort of where clients come to you and they basically have an idea for a product, and you actually work for them for the length of the development, and they basically hand it back. One of the things that we recognised in that process was that often the client sort of came second to the project. And so a little bit disillusioned, and I guess very similar to what Jerry Maguire went through. So our vision at PI was to align our business model with our client's business model, and to raise the rate of commercial success by thinking about the business opportunity alongside your client. Now I know that sounds like a pretty high level view of the world, but given that there was a bunch of guys that had actually been working in consulting for such a long time in Melbourne that actually shared that vision and felt that they could do it better, we started Plan Innovation. We started with 4 people. We all reasonably thought the same, and now we have about 110 people. So it's pretty amazing once you start to clearly articulate your vision, how many people you can bring on board and share that. But one of the things that we reflect on more recently is it's not just the employees that you work with, or it's your actual partners actually have to share your vision. And so if you go way back into our starting point, we didn't have a track record. We had, we thought we had reputations, but we didn't have a track record. So what do? How do you get work? And one of the things that we did is that we had a vision. So it meant that when you're talking not only to potential employees, but you also had potential customers. And not everyone agrees with the vision, but some of them actually get it. And as long as you get a few of those, then you can get started. And that's what happened with us. So people understood the vision, and we moved on from there. So it's good to have people alongside you on the journey. Right, so you know this part in the movie. This is when this is what makes Jerry Maguire a rom-com, but no one ever really said that was the case. It was Katrina. So if you remember this part, Jerry sort of bursts in through the door. He's just done his contract with Rod Tidwell, and he says, starts talking to Dorothy, and then Dorothy's sitting there going, "You had me at hello." He still keeps talking, "You had me at hello." And it's pretty amazing that would happen. And I wouldn't say this is the best elevator pitch that I've ever seen, but it was a pretty good one. She probably reacted a little bit more to the gut feel of the situation, that he just looked a bit different and acted a little bit different. I don't know how much you remember the movie, but an elevator pitch is a little bit of gut feel from the person that's receiving it, as well as a bunch of things, right? So I said back to the start, think business, think product, and then obviously think technology. And the hard part in a pitch is trying to get all of that into a succinct description of the opportunity, and also balancing each one of those dimensions, because you don't exactly know the person that you're talking to, you're not exactly sure how they're going to react. And so that's where the gut feel part comes in. And obviously Dorothy, all of her antennas went towards Jerry, and off they went. So it's important to get that balancing part of it right, the balancing act. And I like to reflect on two examples of a pitch that sort of fits at either end of the spectrum. So if I said business, product and technology. So really early on in the piece, we had a guy come to us that said he had an amazing widget, and this widget did X, Y and Z. And one of the first things you say, think about the business. So he said, well, show me the money. Show me your business case. What's going to happen? And in the business case, he had an international expansion with 100% market penetration in 3 years, and I think he was in the top ASX 10 within those 3 years. So it's pretty right to be a little bit sceptical in that situation, right? So clearly that was something that you follow is more about opportunity and less about the substance. That's one end of the spectrum, but what we come across more often is the technology element. And I won't talk about any health-based ones, but one that really has stuck in my mind on the technology push is that we had a guy come to us and he said, we are going to revolutionise utility-scale power generation. And, I don't know much about utility-scale power generation. I went to your lawn when I was a kid on a boat, I think it was a board school excursion, and the power generations, right? The big units that actually generate the power for your house and everything, they're big, right? So they probably fit in this building, and I said, okay, fair enough. Well, we'll have a look at it. And he goes, well, the problem that we've got is we've got this Chinese technical report. It says that this will revolutionise power generation. What we need you to do is to just confirm it, and because our shareholders don't believe the report. And we said, okay, so clearly if you've got a report on a technical report, you've got a prototype. Yep, so where do we have to go to see the prototype? It's in the car. Right, it's in the car. How big's your car? That's the situation that you're talking about, where it's more of a technology push, and clearly what ended up happening is the technology didn't quite work the way that we expected it. But it was really very much about the technology and less about the application. So you need to get them at hello and getting the pitch right. You'll know that you get it right. It takes time to get it right, but you know when you do, and it does take time. Okay. Now, if I had enough time, I would have liked to have had this one as a clip as well, but this has helped me help you. I don't know how much you know this part of the movie, but it's quite a good part where Jerry is seeing his whole vision that he's articulated before basically evaporating in front of his face. He's trying to do a deal with the Arizona football franchise, and basically Rod doesn't like it. So he's decided that he's going to go free agency, and he's willing to just let it go. And Jerry is so desperate, he says, help me, help you. And he says it over and over again. And then Rod starts laughing. It diffuses the situation really beautifully. And one of the things that was, that for me, the relevance here for this group is not to go to an investor and say, help me, help you, because they'll think you're a little bit weird, right? And obviously Rod felt the same way about Jerry at this moment. And the thing that I got out of this was really that Rod was part of the solution. He was part of the process as well. He wanted to have some input into it. And he was keen to help. And it actually needed a bit more pushback from him to get Jerry to respond to his thoughts. And in the end, it all worked out positively. So the key thing here is that you can actually ask for help and you can actually get help, and people are willing to give you advice and people are willing to give you a little bit of a point in the right direction. And I think for the price of a coffee, you can now get a video a discussion around video needs. You can come and talk to us about commercialization requirements. You can find someone in your industry, and clearly this, the StartUp Healthtech group can give you access to people like this, and people are willing to share their views. The really hard part is actually working out when you have to pay for it, right? So, you know, if you're putting an investment memorandum together and you want a position on regulatory and it's going to drive the whole entire cost of your venture, then you probably should pay for it. If it comes for free, it's probably not very good advice. Okay, so you know, there's a little bit of balancing there and you have to work that out. Okay, how am I going for time? I think I'm done. Next one. Was that 5? I think that's 5, yeah. So there's people in this room that can probably help you, right? So I think it's the start of a network session, yeah?
Absolutely.
So it's a good segue. Are there any questions on what I had to say? Maybe some specifics around what we've done, or happy to take questions or talk to you afterwards.
For those of you, I don't know if you've ever, I got the chance to go and see Graham and Roger out at Planet Innovation. The stuff they're doing is really cool. It's not just, you know, IT based, it's not ethereal. There's real hardware, there's these machines sitting there that do things you can only imagine about. And it's an amazingly fantastic kind of hotbed of innovation sitting right in the middle of Melbourne. So if you ever get a chance to go,
yep,
I would,
doors open.
It's really good. Well, it's not actually, it's quite highly
well,
secure. You know, get their numbers, I'm sure they go. So any questions for
Scott?
Sam? Yeah.
Customers.
Yes.
So how do you go about finding customers?
For an early stage venture, you know, there's someone here that actually has done a lot of phone calls to lots of different kids. I think early on it's more about validating your idea. So it's really important. I think what happens often is that there's a need to talk to key opinion leaders. I mean, people talk about this all the time, right? So you want to validate your idea, so you talk to the best and brightest in your field. It's actually important that there's actually other ends of the spectrum. So often there's the US thing and the Europe thing. There's the small versus large. And so if you are going to talk to customers, it's important to talk to as many customers that fit the whole demographic, so you can get together a really good, compelling business proposition that takes into account all of the factors. The last thing we're going to be doing from our perspective is taking something to the market and a key opinion leader loves it and that's about it, right? Highly exotic test that is used once when a traveller comes back from Botswana with a weird thing on their foot, right? And so, do you know what I mean? That's the answer. I don't think that talks about the customer part of it, though.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Anything else?
The room is full of people from PI. Okay. by the way, can you put your hands up if you're from PI? Just so, which I'm really grateful for your support. I understand that this.
So they did hear there was free beer.
And I also heard from one person that's remembered that they heard it was a marketing budget as well, which they've never seen before. So, you know, but guys, you know, have a chat and mingle and have a chat with your PI partners here. So, if there's any more questions for Sam, Scott?
What's the best consumer product you're seeing in the health sector?
Consumer-oriented product, like a patient side of things. Well, obviously more recently there's been, I don't know if it's the best one, but interesting one is the iPhone connected point of care test, which is for glucose, which obviously is creating a bit of a wave in the FDA at the moment. So, you know, you've got a system, you know, a portable device that clearly isn't a medical device and hasn't been through the rigour of most medical devices in terms of development, but they've managed to get it, they're getting it through market. So there'll be more than that, clearly.
And with, I mean, Apple and Google now moving into the health and tech space.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.